Okay.
So that's it. All right. So Ernie, it's all yours.
All right, can everybody hear me?
I
Yes.
can.
All right, good. Now I'm going to mute everybody. All right, so you can unmute yourself if you have anything to say. Like Rob said, my name is Ernie Chase. I am with Lochinvar. This is all my fault. So I work on Lochinvar U pretty much full time at this point. So what I want to do is give you an overview of what Lochinvar U is and how to use it. And for some of you guys, we can even go over how the admin side works, because we can set your company up inside this platform so that you can basically have this platform for your own company. It's pretty fantastic. So start with, there are two sides to this. One is a website that you're looking at now. This is a website that I built and maintained. We don't farm this site out. That way we have complete control. We can change anything we want. This is where you go if you need information now. Let's say you go to a mechanical room, you're sitting in front of a unit, or you got guys out there and they need to change a burner on a unit they haven't seen before. You basically just come down here and click the tab that shows video tutorials. And there's a disclaimer here. The point of this is we need to keep it open so that all of you guys can access it. And we don't want to put you behind some kind of a password wall, because when Lochinvar U was originally created, years and years ago, we took it over in 2015. They had it behind a wall that you had to have special codes from different reps and things like that, and no one ever used it, so it was kind of worthless. So what we did when we took it over is we took that away, but we give a disclaimer. First of all, we do not promote this to end users. This is only for, reps or salespeople or our contractors, engineers, or big maintenance companies. Like if you have your own building, state industries, things like that. But we're not selling this to ma and pa. We live in a YouTube world now, and the hardest thing that I run into, especially with residential contractors, is that conversation to have across the table with somebody, and they're trying to sell them a PM contract, and they're like, well, I just watched a YouTube video on this and it only took that 15 minutes. Why am I going to pay you an hour? So we're trying to avoid that as much as we can. And most people we try to send over to our technical service department. But if you're the right person, you agree to this, you come in and you have all of these different video tutorials to look at. Now, if you were going to open up one of these, excuse me, I'm sorry, a little bit of phlegm. Let's say Smart Touch Control. You open this up and you can see we have videos for every single parameter in this. This is every single menu. So the Smart Touch Control is just one version of the smart system. The smart system itself is the same across the platform, but how you navigate it is differently. This goes over every single parameter in the control, how the parameter works, how it affects other parameters. Everything is here. Like, for example, in this Cascade, in Cascade, this will go over how individual units trigger different units in Cascade. We have people calling in all the time saying, hey, my Cascade's all out of whack. It's not working properly. But if you actually look at how it's operating, it's doing exactly what it's supposed to do. People just don't understand how it's supposed to work. So this is helpful as well. Everything is in this. Um, let's say maintenance side. Let's say if we had like a crest and you come in here. This is the new single blower crest. Apologize, my internet at my house is pretty terrible. But you come in, you see we have how to clean the heat exchanger and the burner, how to do combustion analysis, how to access filters, which seems silly, but there's actually a lower filter in a lot of these crests, a vertical filter that no one even knows is there. So we have a video on how to do that as well. These are all downloadable also, so you can download these, keep them with you at any time. And we have PDFs that go with this as help. So if you were to say, we start referencing gas valves in the combustion, well, you can't really shoot that with a camera. So what we've done here is created these 3D models and basically told you where the bias and throttle adjustments are, if it's under a cap, if it's not. We had a guy call in tech support. He'd been messing with the gas valve, thought he was changing the bias for an hour. He was literally screwing the cap on and off. He had never actually gotten to the bias screw. So these are the kind of things that we're trying to prevent through this kind of material. So that's all good. We've got a lot of those. You can see these are all units that we currently manufacture and sell. We also have legacy models. I mean, you're going to run into units that we built to last. And so you're going to see a unit that's 15, 20 years old. We want to have videos for those as well. So same thing here. You can go in. A lot of these are really old. We've been making these videos since, the mid 2000s. So you can see Kevin's got his 70s chops in these videos here, but they're still there. They still work. We also have a development program. we're trying to get young people into the field. The average age of a technician these days is about 55. So we're trying to get the younger guys to not only come into the field, because a lot of them come in, but a lot of them don't stay. And so we're trying to teach them what they need to know, on a lower level. We don't have strong unions all over the country, so we don't have a lot of these shops that are teaching these guys what they need to know, and you know they have to learn on the job. So basic multimeter symbols, how that works, what circulators are, how to read a pump curve, basically connection plugs. This teaches people how to speak the same language that we speak in tech support. We don't say the blue wire, red wire, we say CN4-5 to X5-9. This goes over all of that. We explain what negative regulation is. I mean, most heaters today are negative regulation. A lot of guys like us came up in a very standard gas valve world, and it's taken some people a little while to get their head wrapped around negative regulation. But the science is fourth grade science. It's not really that complicated, but we just have to explain it like a normal person. You can have an engineer, and no offense to any engineers out there, but you can have an engineer explain something to you technically correct and not understand what the hell they're talking about. So we kind of break this down in regular technician speak, and just make it easy to understand. Like condensation and evaporation. I mean, if you're going to understand why a condensing boiler is 98% thermal efficient, when a non-condensing might be 87, it's not marketing, it's science. And so we just go over the science of that as well. This also goes to things like how to download PC software, how to create log files, how to access a Modbus front end, gateway user interfaces. I mean, all of this stuff is there, and we're trying to get more and more and more as we go. We also have a little tips and trips. Oh, let me untie my tongue here. Tricks and tips. Something doesn't fit somewhere else, we kind of just put it here. So igniter replacements, three-way valve on our pool heater, display communication board. This was when people were changing out these boards, they were breaking ribbon cables, so we had to shoot a video on how to do that properly. So all that stuff is there as well. So these videos are available to you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You don't have to call anybody. If you got a guy in a mechanical room, they can open these up and watch these videos literally on their phone or on their iPad, whatever. Preferably not in front of the customer. Okay, so videos are great, but they're just the tip of the iceberg. So we have this Lochinvar U toolbox, this resource area. And if you come in here, we have this thing called digital simulators. You can't always be in front of a control, but we wanted to provide the next best thing, right? So if you came in here, and a lot of these were originally built in Flash. I am currently working to get those just JavaScript. For example, the one I'm opening up now, the night simulator, I've already completed this in JavaScript where it will work on any browser, any phone, any iPad, anything. I'm just running it through the beta process now. I don't want to release it until it actually works properly. So, oh, come on, computer. There we go. So essentially, this does everything that a real heater will do except heat water, right? The dial doesn't stick out of the screen. We haven't perfected holograms yet, but you don't want to try to turn a dial anyway, so you just use these arrows. You can scroll through this thing just like you would if you were standing in front of the heater. You want to go to your set points, you can do that, your limits, all this is here. You can even go to the programming menu, hold the menu button down for 3 to 5 seconds, just like you would on a real heater. 5309 is the password, save. Now I'm going through here and I'm scrolling through just like I would if I was standing in front of it. Think about if you got a guy on a job site and he's calling you like, hey, how do I access outdoor reset? And you're sitting at your desk and thinking, hell, I could do it if I was standing there, but I don't know. I can't remember all that stuff. You can literally pull this up on your computer or your phone and you can walk them through it like you're standing there. No more getting in the truck, driving across town, having to do it yourself. Or even better, you're going to a job to do a startup and you haven't used the control in 6 months or a year. This gives you the ability to play with it and practice with it before you actually get to the job site. I mean, I've been there. I'm sure you have too, where you're sitting there looking at a control you've never seen before and you're trying to figure it out and people are watching you. You're trying to look like you know what the hell you're doing, but you don't have to do that with these controls. You can literally play with them at home, go to the job site, and it works just like it does on the real thing. It's pretty sweet. And you can see we've got a ton of these, and I'm always trying to make more. You'll notice there's no smart touch here, and that's because they don't want me to make it right now. They want you to use Connexus. So if you ever want to practice on the smart touch control, what you'd want to do is go download the Connexus app. The app is free. It doesn't cost anything, and it will give you like a little demo mode where you can play with the control and practice it. I'm working on them to trying to build a simulator for that one as well, but they really want to push people to the Connexus app as much as possible. So those are simulators. They're great. We also have calculators. Now, I make these just because this is useful for myself and for our technicians. Keeping in mind, our technical service department is using this stuff as well. And so when people are calling in and looking for answers, a lot of times they're finding these answers on Lochinvar U themselves. Now, we don't have enough time to really go over everything inside the platform, but I do want to show you a couple of these tools that I think are really important. One of the things that we struggle with, especially in cold environments like you, is the amount of glycol we find in systems. When it comes to fire tube boilers, water chemistry is critical. I think you all understand that. And way more critical than it ever was on water tube. For many, many years, Lochinvar was a water tube company. We preached lime scale free performance through flow and velocity and things like that. And that's still true with all of our water tubes. But when you get to a fire tube, you don't have any control of the velocity through that heat exchanger. It's basically a big bucket. So water chemistry becomes absolutely critical. So things like glycol amounts, which typically in the past, the amount of glycol only hurt our output. And people were putting boilers in that were way too damn big anyway. So if it reduced the output because they had too much glycol, it didn't really hurt us. But the low pH that's created through heavy glycol in systems really causes havoc on your systems, but really on those heat exchangers. They're not designed for that extremely low pH. And so when people think they have 30% mixtures in their systems, we go out and test, and a lot of times we're over 50%, even in relatively warm environments. And so that really comes from the fact that most people just don't know how many gallons of water is in their system. So we created this little calculator to make it easy for everybody. And so it asks you questions. How many pipe diameters do you have? So let's just do something simple. I got, some radiant tubes and like a basic system, 2 pipe diameters. So it says, what's your first size? 1/2 inch. All right, well, how many feet? You got 2,000 feet of that. All right, good. I also have some 1-inch pipe. I've got 200 feet of that. So it automatically calculates the gallon capacity of that system. Now, and it also reminds you, hey, there's other stuff here. You have a heat exchanger, you got a buffer tank. Let's say my heat exchanger's got 2.5 gallons. I got a 1/2 gallon in an expansion tank. Let's just say I got an extra 3 gallons in that system. And you'll notice as I do this, this is always calculating, right? And then I come in and say, okay, well, I got 35 gallons. Now, if you did this, and I do this in front of classes all the time, I throw out these numbers and I have people try to imagine how many gallons that is. And most of the time people shoot way over what the actual gallon capacity is. I mean, we're dudes, we always round up, it's just in our nature. So what this does is kind of focuses us in on this idea. There's probably not as much water as you think. And if I wanted a 30% mix, I just type in 30. There you go, 10.73 gallons. What if I wanted a 40% mix? It's all here. Oh, what if I found some more piping, oh, so now I have 3 pipe diameters. I come down. I also have some 3/4 inch pipe. I got 200 foot of that, and it's going to calculate it all the way for you. So I'm not saying that you should lean on this to do it for you. What I am saying is come up with a calculation, whatever you think you might want or what you might need. Just use this to double check yourself. It doesn't hurt. It's on Lochinvar U all the time. Just open it up, throw it in there, and have at it. So that's great. We also have electrical conversions because I've been working with electricity a long time. I still have not memorized Ohm's law. So it's just helpful to have this in my pocket where I can just pull this out. Say I was working at a water heater at home, right? Okay, I got 4,500 watt element. I got, 208 volts. What is my amp draw? Very simple. Now I know what kind of wire I need to pull, right? I could do voltage, you could do resistance, you could do power, even 3-phase. I got 9 kW and 480 volts. There's my amp draw. Just quick. I mean, how many times you've been standing on a job site trying to figure out, okay, is this wire going to be big enough? I got some 12 on the truck. Can I use that for this circuit? These are the kind of things that we're trying to do there. Fahrenheit and Celsius conversions. This one's an interesting one. I'm not sure how many of you guys are using the Noble, but if you are using a Noble and you are using a Combi, what we're looking at here is to make sure that we're putting them in the right applications, because we want to sell you a product, but we don't want to put the wrong product in the wrong application. And when people see these numbers right here that are right out of the manual, they're confusing, and they really are. Basically, this says this is the flow rate through the secondary heat exchanger to maintain a 77-degree rise, which is as good as anybody in the industry. What that also means is if your flow rate going through there is faster than that, you're going to have less of a temperature rise than 77 degrees. But on the flip side of that, if your flow rate's lower, then you can get even more than 77 degrees. So let's say you get into a situation and somebody says, well, I got 6 gallons of water in the system. If I turn all my faucets on, 6 gallons goes through that system. And most people will look at these numbers and say, well, I can't use this because it can only do 4.8. But this mixing valve is required on all of these tankless type heaters. So you're going to be mixing. So let's say, for example, the hot water coming out of the boiler itself, let's say that's 160 degrees. I've got a 6-gallon system. My mix temperature coming out of this 3-way valve going to my faucets is 120 degrees. And my groundwater temperature is 40 degrees Fahrenheit. Well, you can see in that scenario, and this is a live calculation, only 4 gallons is going through the secondary heat exchanger. It's a little bit much. I wouldn't be able to maintain a 77-degree rise on the 150 in this scenario, but the 199 will do it just fine. Keeping in mind also, with our combis, you get full BTU output for the boiler side. It's not like a lot of other combis out there that limit the boiler side and give you all this DHW. But you can see, you can come in here and you can change these numbers, and the number up here changes. If the boiler output coming out of the unit was 150 degrees Fahrenheit, what would that mean for my system? And so this just gives you an idea of, will this work in my application? Not only that, it's also a good troubleshooting tool. When you go to the job site and it's not working properly, you can throw it into this calculator and see, well, should it be working properly? Am I going to be able to maintain a 77-degree rise? So we have that. Also an outdoor reset calculator. One of the main calls we get on Smart System is how to set up outdoor reset. Most people want us to do it for them, and we flatly refuse to do that because we're not in your environment. But we understand it because our control does work differently than a lot of others. In 2005, when I was introduced to this Smart System, the outdoor reset took a while to really understand properly because I wasn't used to it. Most of us grew up in a Honeywell or Tecmar world where those are great controls, but the way they do outdoor reset was, this is my set point, and it will only go up from there. It'll never go down from my set point. This is my set point. It'll always get warmer, but never colder. And our control doesn't work that way. What we do is, when you use outdoor reset on a Lochinvar product with a smart control, we take away your set point. It no longer acts as a set point at all. What you do now is give us these 4 parameters instead. So you tell us what your design day is. I wish they would call that design day instead of outdoor low, but I'm not the engineer that programmed it. Design day, not the coldest day that you're ever going to see, just design day. What is your outdoor high? This is the warmest day when you still need the heat. And then what are your set points when you reach those outdoor temperatures? And it's really that simple, right? And if you forget what these are, just hit the little question mark, and above the control, it explains what each one of these things is. And as simple as we can make it. And it's just this idea that you can't always remember this stuff, right? And then you just pop in what your current outdoor temperature is, hit submit, and it will tell you exactly what your current set point is going to be based on the parameters that you set. If I were to change these numbers up here and resubmit that, it's going to change my overall curve. So in a situation where previous to using a calculator like this, it's confusing to know exactly what your set point should be. You go to a job site and the unit's not keeping up the heat, and you're seeing it's not even modulating to 100%, and the set point seems a little low. You're kind of stabbing in the dark to figure out where to put it. But in this situation, you don't have to. You can actually put these numbers into a computer and determine what the set point is. And you can actually say, well, I don't think 137 degrees is going to cut it in this scenario. So what parameters do I need to change that? Well, if I put this up to, or put this down to 150, that's going to change it down. So if I put this to 170, that's going to make it go up. And if you don't know what calculated set point is, again, we tell you that as well. One of the greatest things about this control also is, even though we take your SH temperature set point away as a set point, we convert it to a high limit. So let's say you have this scenario, but you're going under concrete. You want the aggressive nature of the curve. I mean, you want it to change temperature. This is a 70-degree rise in temperature right here. Now, the great thing about this is, if it does get really cold, like -10, this control is not going to stop at the set point. It's going to continue to climb, right, until it reaches the SH temp. So if I had a concrete floor, I could just change that to 120. Now, no matter how cold it gets outside, it's never going to go above 120. But the beauty of this is, once it gets warmed up, because we live most of our life in shoulder days, it will be able to go down. So you're not stuck to that solid set point that most controls are going to leave you at. It's completely flexible. We also show you how to size buffer tanks. size expansion tanks. All of this stuff is there. One thing too, and before we leave calculators, because this is one that I use all the time, when we try to explain primary secondary to people that have never been introduced to it before, their eyes start to glaze over and they start, imagining there's somewhere else where they would rather be than in front of me listening to this. But a lot of people have a hard time imagining it. And now, since we've gone to a lot of fire tube systems, people are wanting to get away from primary secondary altogether. And keep in mind, Lochinvar did not create primary secondary. That was B&G way back in the day. I think Gil Carlson probably came up with it. But the idea is that the reason we adopted it early on was we can control the flow rate through our heater. Controlling the flow rate means we control the delta T. Controlling the delta T, especially with modulating boilers, is pretty important to us because it will control the modulation of the heater. Remember, these units have built-in safeties. If the delta T's bounce all over the place, that unit's going to be chasing its tail all day long. So full flow systems work, and they work better if we have better control over the flow rate through the system. But let's be honest here. We could do full flow systems on any boiler, water tube or fire tube, the like. The reason we made the rule that you must do primary secondary on a water tube wasn't because it's impossible to do a full flow system, but it was just not practical. There were not enough controls in the system to actually maintain the proper delta T's. That led to flashing to steam and all kinds of bad stuff. Well, these units aren't going to flash. I mean, especially if it's a fire tube, because there's actually water capacity there. They're not going to flash. But what they will do is they'll modulate up and down in short cycle and create a mess. So we still want people to use primary secondary whenever possible. But we get into that situation where, especially if people aren't used to it, say if they go from cast iron sectionals where they're used to the delta T of the system is the delta T of the boiler, that runs us into problems. Let me give you a scenario I see all the time. So I got 130 degrees coming back from the system. I've got a flow rate in the system of 50 gallons a minute. The boiler is flowing 25 gallons a minute, and the delta T on the boiler is 20. Standard setup, I see this all the time. Because the contractor, they say, well, 20-degree delta T on the system, 20-degree delta T on the boiler. With primary secondary, that's not going to work. You can see, for example, here, I've got 130 coming back at 50 gallons a minute. I got 140 going out. Now, the 20-degree delta T of the system is set by the heat emitters, not by the boiler, right? The boiler is just giving the system some heat. The heat emitters is what's actually creating that delta T across the system. So if it's taking 20 degrees, you can see with a 10-degree rise across this loop, I'm going to continuously lose temperature in that system over and over throughout the day. And that's going to become a problem. And what will happen, a lot of times, guys will go to the job site with a no heat call, and they'll walk into the mechanical room, and the worst possible scenario will exist. The boiler's running, right? When you get a no heat call, you want that boiler to be broken, not working, because the worst thing you want to do is walk into a mechanical room and see something working and thinking, what the hell's going on here? And so a lot of people don't really attribute this to delta T right away. So we use a calculator like this one to show them, okay, if I change the delta T on this boiler to, like, say 40 gallons or a delta T of 40, now I get that true 20 degrees. Now, let's say if I was doing this without this calculator, how would we do that? Well, we would look at the delta T across the system. We'd look at the boiler delta T. We would start to close the circuit setter on the boiler down to increase the delta T across the boiler. And then we would wait. We'd wait for all that temperature to go through the system, through the heat emitters and back. And then we would say, okay, is that a 20-degree delta T? No, not quite yet. Let's slow the flow rate down again. We would be messing with this thing for hours to get that thing sized. I mean, think about how much time you spend just balancing a system. A calculator like this will just make that easier. In my opinion, especially. Again, it's not going to be perfect because this is a static image, but at least it'll give you a target, something to shoot for. Because if I know that 40-degree delta T should give me what I want, I can literally look at the screen on my unit while I adjust the circuit setter to maintain a 40-degree delta T across that boiler, and then see what the effect is on my system. Just makes it out that much faster. And then what about the other scenario where we get a lack of flow? This is especially happens in systems that are full flow, but even in primary secondary, the rule of primary secondary is for us, the flow rate of the system loop has to be equal to or greater than the flow rate of the boiler loop, or you get recirculation. So for example, I got 25 gallons going through the boiler right now. If I only had 20 gallons going through the system, my smallest zone is the only thing open at this point. Well, what's happening? I got 130 coming back from the system, got 138 coming into the heater. How's that possible? It's just, well, because 5 gallons is going right from the outlet back to the inlet. Now, the boiler is going to react to this by modulating down. The world completely changed for us in 2005. When we first introduced the night in this modulating system, which was new for us, all of these piping problems that we had disappeared almost overnight because the boilers completely modulate down to prevent short cycling. And if they were too big, hey, problem solved. It'll just modulate down and maintain what it needs to be. If it's short cycling, it'll just modulate down. So a lot of these piping problems have not been corrected in the systems. They've just been masked by this modulation. And this at least gives you an idea of what's going on in the system. So that's another great one. But again, lots of calculators, not as much time. Any calculator, guys, that you can think of that you want to see that we don't have, communicate it to me. I'll do my best to get it up there, especially if it's something that you use all the time. I'd rather you come to Lochinvar U to get it than to go to somewhere else. All right, so calculators are great. We also have troubleshooters. Now, this is a big one. This is a big project of mine to get these updated and modernized. I've been so busy inside the platform. It's tough to get the time to really do this, but the next level of this is going to be more of a video-based tutorial situation, kind of how our videos are about setting up boilers and maintaining boilers, things like that. We're also going to approach that from a troubleshooting standpoint. I made this in 2014 to give you some idea of how old this is now, but it's still awesome and it still works for these products. So say I got a night boiler and I hit troubleshooting. These are all the codes that are going to come up on that smart screen. It's going to turn red and it's going to say one of these things. Our claim to fame for the smart control is no error codes. The error comes up, it tells you exactly what the error is. You don't have to say, oh, what is C456, and look at the book and all that stuff. But it's also a double-edged sword because as contractors, I was a contractor for many years, okay? So I'm not crapping on contractors, but you know as well as I do that when a contractor visits a job site, it is more profitable for them to change a part, even if it's not broken, than it is for a technician to be sitting in that mechanical room for 5 hours and fix the problem and not change a part. That's just reality. That's how it is. So what we have to do as a manufacturer, we don't want them throwing parts at our units that aren't broken or misdiagnosed. So we have to give back to our contractors and say, listen, we will try to make it as fast for you as possible. And that's the thing we can do because, some of these things are complicated and we don't want you to have to wait on hold for 45 minutes in tech support. We have tools like this to help you. Now, all these show up on the screen except for the first one, no display, right? You walk up and the display is blank. It doesn't say no display. It's just blank. But what happens if you have no display? This came from a real phone call from a guy in Michigan that had not only had no display when he installed the heater, he went to the supply house to get a new display. They didn't have one in stock. He pulled one off a unit in the warehouse, off a good unit, came back to the job site, put that display on it. It didn't work either. Then he spent like 30 minutes on hold for Lochinvar U. And when I was lucky enough to answer the phone, he cussed me up and down both sides of the street and said that we sold him a lemon. Of course, first question I asked him was, is the power on, which he was not impressed with, right? Turns out he had hit the disconnect on the unit, but he forgot that there was a power switch on the unit itself. And so the power was not on. And so these kind of basic misdiagnoses happen all the time. So let's say if this was 10:30 at night and he did not have anybody to call, you could just hit no display. It set whatever my possible cause is. Well, I don't have 120 volts supplied to the unit. How do I troubleshoot that? Check for 120 volts at the main power connection terminals. This is as far as most troubleshooters are going to take you. They expect you to take it up from here, but it's really not enough information, especially on a unit that you might not be familiar with. So if you push the button, we will take it a step further as soon as my internet decides to catch up for me. Anytime now, computer, making me look like a fool. Oh, it's real slow today. Okay, so in real life, it would do this. We'll show you where the problem is. We'll even show you where it's located inside the heater. And then we'll show you where to put your multimeter leads to check it. That's a level beyond what most troubleshooters that you're going to find on the internet are going to be able to do for you. Now, a lot of people look at this and say, I don't need that. I'm a technician. I don't need you to tell me where to put my multimeter leads. Well, I got news, guys. I'm also a technician. I can troubleshoot any electrical circuit you put in front of me until the power goes into a microchip. Because if I don't understand the sequence of operation, I don't care how good you are with electrons, you're not going to be able to pass. So look at this one, flow switch, low water cutoff. This is one of the most complicated circuits in the unit itself. Now we got 7 steps to this. Now, this is not troubleshooting steps, okay? You never start from 1 and go to 7. You always start from the middle and fold your work in half. But what we're doing here is we're taking you through the sequence of operation and explaining the whole process. Power begins at X4-3. It goes over to the low voltage board and connects at CN5-5. Oh, what color wire is that? It's the black wire. Good luck. All 14 wires are black, so you can't go by color. CN5-5 goes down to the low water cutoff. What is a low water cutoff? It explains what the low water cutoff is, what it's looking for, what it's going to do when it's satisfied. It's going to send that power up to terminal number 11, which is connected to an optional flow switch. It explains what a flow switch is, what the flow switch is looking for, what it's going to do when it gets it. It's going to pass it back through terminal 12 to CN5-14 and back to X4-8. Now think about this. I'm a troubleshooter. Many of you are troubleshooters. When we walk onto that job site, more than half of our time is spent scratching our heads, figuring out where to start. It just is, okay? Unless you had the same problem 50 times, you're thinking, okay, where do I start? This is designed to speed that process up. No more head scratching. This tells you exactly where to start, what to look for, and where to find it. And that's what we're trying to do. Now, the next generation of this is going to be more video-based. So instead of animation like I'm doing here, it'll be a technician actually going through the process with you as if you were standing right next to him in the mechanical room. So, you know, troubleshooters are great. We're always trying to make those better. But everything you've seen here, all of this is outside the platform. You have not had to register for Lochinvar U at this point. You've not had to log in. If you want to become a member, there are added benefits, okay? And the way you do that is with these 2 buttons on the top. The register button first. If you have not registered for Lochinvar U, it's a very simple process. Again, not for ma and pa. Now, if we catch people inside the platform that don't belong there, they get booted out. If Rob was to call me and say, hey, this guy is an idiot, he does not need to be working on our products, we'll kick him out of there. You know, I mean, we're listening to all of our customers and our reps. So if they agree to this, they come in. First name, last name, email address is important. We do not spam on Lochinvar U. I see people opting out of email all the time, and then they complain, hey, I never know whenever you guys are putting up new classes. Well, yeah, you opted out of email. There is no way for you to know. Literally, you told us not to tell you. But we don't spam. You're not going to get sales information or brochures or any of that crap through Lochinvar U. This is a technician's website for technicians, and we're going to keep it that way as long as we can. So email address, job title, territory is just your state. You guys are usually in this area here, 103. You could go in under FIA as well. There's an FIA if you want to do that. This basically just ranks you in your territory. So we keep a record of who the top 5 are in the territory, kind of as bragging rights. But maybe you've always wanted to live in Peru. You could choose Peru. It doesn't matter. It does not affect your actual training at all. So once you do that, you're going to get an email to set up your username and password. This has happened a lot because people are working from home. Passwords have to be 8 digits at least. They have to contain a capital letter. They have to have a lowercase letter and at least 1 number. If you do that criteria, it should work for you. When in doubt, just use Lochinvar1 with a capital L. That's the default password I give people when they can't log in. So once we're in, this is my side. You guys don't see that part. This is the user side. So it looks a little bit different. This is a purchase product because my boss, Charles, said, I don't want you building the platform. It's an IT nightmare. You have better stuff to do. So we purchased this. Now, we still run it. We still compile it, but how it actually operates in the background, this is literally just so that we can get information on what is actually being used and passed and things like that. So you come in, you can give a picture of yourself. This is my favorite picture of me. You can use whatever picture you want of yourself, right? We also have a coin balance. You can see that I have 8,690 coins. That's how many coins I've earned in my lifetime in Lochinvar U. See, coins are earned through taking tests, and these tests are based on the videos. So when you go to the training tab up here, and I'll see, let's look at just all of these. We have currently I think we have 320 videos. These are the same videos that are outside the platform. So if I went in and said, for example, the Smart Touch Control, I have not only watched all these videos, but I've passed the test at the end of the video. See, outside the platform, you watch the video, That's it. You're just watching the video. Inside the platform, you watch the video, you take a test. Now, if you don't think you need to watch the video and you just want to go straight to the test, you can do that too. We've got a quiz me button on there. You can go to it at any time. But we get pretty specific on some of these tests, and people misread them all the time. So take your time, take the test, get your check mark. That's worth 25 coins. You can comment down below if you feel like commenting, like, hey, this test isn't working, and that flags me so that I know that we've got a problem. Or you can just email or communicate to us directly. Either way works. Now, this is the Smart Touch Control. There are 14 videos in just this package. Once you watch all these and pass these tests, then you will get this certificate icon, and you can actually print yourself a certificate through Lochinvar U. Now, of course, my internet's slow. This is probably going to take a second, but this is an official document from Lochinvar. So if you ever get into a job and the spec requires you to have a certification on that product, the only way you could get that in the past is to go to one of Rob's classes or to come down to Tennessee or something like that. You also have the ability to get those in Lochinvar U as well. Now, this cannot, and I want to stress this, online training is awesome, but it can never replace what guys like Rob and Jerry and those guys are doing at FIA. It's not going to replace what we do in the classroom at Lochinvar, okay? One-on-one teaching is the best, but you just can't always afford to get down there or take the time to do it. You can literally do these classes drinking a beer in your underwear at home, like many of you are right now, right? All right, so that's cool. And you look at this and you say, well, you've earned 8,690 coins. Why do you have 8,675,987 coins? Well, I'm an admin. I can, if I'm having a bad day, I can give myself 1,000,000 coins. It feels great, but it doesn't help me. I can't actually spend them. You can though. There's a rewards area here. You can click that. You can see right now we've got a couple things up here. Lochinvar hat. You want a beat up looking Lochinvar hat? That's 1,000 coins. I want one. You can just click right there. Or maybe gloves. Torch not included. We're just modeling the gloves there. I want some gloves. I want some Lochinvar gloves. We typically try to put up tools. Safety glasses. Haven't got a hard hat yet. I want to get one of those. Although most people won't use it. Fan testers, we've had fan testers up there, manometers, things like that. If I could ever get Charles to shake out some coin, maybe we'll try to get a combustion analyzer or something. That would be great. But there's a special prize for people that we'll get to here in a second. There's also a community section where you can get in here and talk to other people inside the platform, or just, bitch and complain about how much your job sucks. A lot of people use the platform for that. But really, this is like social media inside, but no one else can see this. It's only people inside. So this guy, Brian, he is doing roll call. He's just telling everybody who he is. People are saying, hey, welcome. Other people have technical questions. And so if we see something like this, Mike here says, been in the night section, keep watching the same video, it ends at 100%, says to continue, leaves the course progress, never finished it. I actually talked to Mike yesterday, I believe, when we got this settled out in person. Things like that are going to happen. This is a online system. If you think that the platform has screwed up, then just report it, and we'll do what we can to fix that. If you've passed the test, dude, I'm not here to say, well, I don't really think you passed that test. I don't think you deserve those 20. I don't give a damn. If you pass the test, you pass the test. I'll pass it for you. It's not a problem. We're here. You took the time to get in here and do this. I don't think you're trying to cheat your way to a flashlight. You know what I mean? So we're here to help you. We also have a resource section, which also has all the stuff that we showed before, the calculators, simulators, all that stuff is there. But we also have something extra for you guys here, which is Smart System PC software. Now, you can buy this software. Each one costs about $50, but you don't have to. If you're a member of Lochinvar U, you can download these for free. Now, couple disclaimers here. Number one, this software should never been put in the hands of our customers ever, in my opinion. This is actually software that was designed for our engineers when they debugged the original smart systems as they're creating them. It was never really meant to be forward facing, but the cat got out of the bag. People wanted it. The main reason we use this is for logging. So let's say, for example, if you have a unit that's giving you trouble, it always fails at 3 a.m. The old days of getting a cot and wasting 2 days, that's over. You don't have to do that. Take a cheap little laptop, hook it up to the boiler through the USB drive, put this software on the PC, and let it do a log file overnight. Remember, there's a video on how to do a log file. There's a video on how to download this software. So we show you how to do that. send the log file back into our technicians and let them help you. Because a lot of times when something weird is happening, if you're describing something that the smart system is doing that the smart system is not designed to do, the technicians are always going to ask you for a log file. This is how you get it. So we'll help you out with that as well. But the PC software is only available for free for Lochinvar U members. Like I said, you can buy it. We have a news section as well, and this gets me to this thing right here. This is a toolkit. So we wanted to do something special for any of our customers, any of our students that reached 100% completion, because I am constantly trying to put new videos up on Lochinvar U. Obviously, right now it's been a struggle because of what's going on, but if I could get one up every 2 weeks, that would be great. With other projects going on, that's just not happening right now. But with 320 videos, if you watch every video, pass every test, you become what we call the 100% club, which means that you've completed everything. We will randomly take that list of people, and I actually do this on our Lochinvar U YouTube page. We do have one. We just don't put a little content there, but we do our random drawings there. And we'll actually do a random drawing on random.org to see who wins the toolkit out of these names of the 100% club. This is a Snap-on toolkit designed by Snap-on for us. It's in a Pelican waterproof case. It's got 2 layers of shadow box tools. You can see a number of tools there. Those are all Snap-on. They're all guaranteed for life. And you get that absolutely free. We don't charge you a dime for it. The only thing you have to do is you have to be in the 100% club to be chosen randomly. And we do random drawings. We're not going to do this once a month or whatever. We just do it randomly to get people excited about the platform. You see, this one went to Alaska. Most of our toolkits have gone to the Northeast. You can see a lot of these guys. These are all previous winners of this toolkit. We're giving them away, you know? And so that's what we want to do. We want to keep people happy. So maybe somebody came out of that region. Most of them are in New York and stuff like that. I think we sent one to Mass. I can't remember. But anyway, so that's good. One step further. What's this reports tab all about? Well, most people, if you're already a member of Lochinvar U, you don't have this tab. You don't have a reports tab. You're thinking, well, what the hell am I looking at? Well, this is only for admins. So let's give the example. Let's say you own your company or you're the service manager, whatever. You've got people that work for you. Let's say you got 10 guys, 10 trucks driving the streets every day. You want them to be part of Lochinvar U. There are not many companies out there that will offer you a absolutely free training program for your company. We do that. And so what you would do is say, guys, I want you all to log in and sign up for Lochinvar U. Send me an email. Hey, Ernie, this is my name. This is my email. This is my company name. These are the emails of all the people that work for me. I will then set you up a company inside of Lochinvar U, and then you will get this reports tab. And you'll see the same reports I'm seeing here. Now, I can see everybody inside the platform because, you know, I'm an admin, but you will have only the people that work for you in this list right here. You can export that to Excel. You can see reports like how many times people have logged in. You see we're getting about, 90 to 100 people a day right now at Lochinvar U, which is pretty consistent throughout, even before coronavirus. You can see all these different things that you can look at. Let's say I just want to look at their learner transcript. So I look at this and I see, okay, 320 courses. These are the people's names. They've completed 100%. If I wanted to see what they've done individually, let's say if I look at William right here, I open this up. There's William. He's completed all the courses. I can go down under boiler and say, when did he complete his night fire tube courses? I look at the dates. These are the dates. Look, he finished every single one of those on the same day. And they're not that hard. And if I thought he cheated, I could reset his progress. You have the same capability. Guys, what we're giving you here is something that would cost you thousands of dollars per quarter. It's absolutely free, right? And now not only are your guys getting the training that they need, they're getting product information and product knowledge that they need as well. I know it's specific to Lochinvar, but we try to do a lot of stuff, especially the stuff that we have in our development program, that's not Lochinvar dependent. We obviously are always going to do product related stuff, but if I can put non-product related stuff in the platform, that's what we're going to do. We want to train guys, and we want people to be coming back to us for this kind of information when they need it. So I would hope that you would do that. And again, just email me. It's not a problem. We'll work it out. I've been doing a lot of this since people have been home in convid because they want to keep track of their guys working at home or whatever they're doing. We can do that for you. All right. And that, my friends, as they say, is that. What do you think? Does anybody just think this is garbage? I will never use this. This was a complete waste of my time. All right. Anybody have any questions or comments or anything? No? All right, Mr. Ellis, you got anything to say?